Let's quickly hook up now with our panelists who are joining us from Abuja and from Lagos to engage these conversations. Let me thank very especially a Labour devotee and a Labour leader, Comrade Moni Mike Modesti Itwa. Comrade, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Sonny Duke. Viewers, good morning to you all.
Okay, this strike is predicated on the disagreements on what should be the minimum wage. What should be the minimum wage for Nigerians? From all indication, this strike is going on. Is this strike necessary at this time against the background of the challenges and the hardship, the economic realities that Nigerians are facing? Because we heard that all major stakeholders are willing to down tools just to enforce this strike, as it were. Money Mike.
The strike is absolutely necessary. It has become blaringly inevitable because the sufferings that you are talking about right now, the federal government or the governments in the federation do not seem to understand that such sufferings are presently happening in this country. You can imagine that a tripartite committee was put up by the federal government many months back to work on the issue of determining a new minimum wage. And months after the inauguration, there was never a meeting called. Organized labor had to force the federal government to call for the inaugural meeting, and eventually the meeting was called. Many weeks after the inaugural meeting, no other meeting was called to continue discussions, until organized labor had to force government again before they called another meeting. The deliberate delay from the side of government, right from day one, goes a long way to show their nonchalant attitude towards the workers of Nigeria. As we speak, the alarming rates of impoverishment, the alarming rates of inability of households to have even a square meal a day, the alarming and astronomical rates of inflation, of which the food inflation has skyrocketed well above 40%, and the national inflation well over 34%. All these put together are sufficient grounds for the government to have deemed it necessary to do the needful at the appropriate time. The issue of a new minimum wage is a national law, encouraged and put up in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That law has expired since April, early April. As we speak, there is no new minimum wage. The governors and the federal authorities swore to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to uphold the tenets of the Constitution. Now, as a country, we do not have a new law. Though technically speaking, the federal government on the 1st of May decided to kind of give another wage award to make it look like that the older law has now been cleverly catered for. The issues on ground right now are very, very major issues. How can you be telling a Nigerian salary grade level 1, step 1, a man with a wife and 4 children, 6 making a family, that 10,000 is what you are going to pay in a whole month per person, 60,000. How much is a bag of rice? How much is electricity right now, if at all it even exists at all? Such a family will not even have the opportunity of sending the children to school. Medical issues cannot be catered for. Even transportation to work will not be there. Feeding will not even be there. Just
Okay, all right. Money Mike, I'll come back to you in a moment. Just pause it there. Let me get Dr. Joe Aligbe, who is the former National Vice President of Senior Staff Association, joining us from Abuja. Dr. Joe, good morning. Many thanks for joining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. We know that from history, when there is a new wage or new salary structure, there's an increment in salary structure, inflation goes up because the landlords and landladies will increase their house rents, and the markets, women, tomatoes, onions, and what have you will also increase their fares. Transfer. I mean, how do we balance this up with this demand by labor for a new minimum wage? We hear that 60,000 naira proposed by the federal government has been rejected. Yes, how do we go forward from here?
Well, good morning, Sonny Duke. It's good to be with you again after a long while. Quickly, I want to say that this strike is justified. It is not the wish of Nigerian labor leaders to always resort to strike because of the negative consequences of strike. It has become very inevitable that labor should declare this strike in order to bring government back to the table. Of course, the meeting of last night was a horrid one. The expectation is that that meeting should have come before now. What labor actually did was to ensure that government comes back to the negotiating table. Having established that, I want to also say that what government is proposing is just infinitesimally too small, because what labor has proposed is very clear. How much will you take you to feed a family of 6, that is a worker and spouse with 4 children in a month? What will it take a worker to pay the medical bill of his family or her family of 6? Electricity, water, transportation, education. And we are asking government, just tell us, how will a family of 6 spend 60,000? And they can't explain it. They know it. It is not possible. And that is why labor is demanding. Yes, because it's negotiation. It's not cast in stone what labor has asked for. But what government has offered is incredibly too low and too small. And that is why we expect that government should comfort. Having said that, it is not always correct that when you increase salary, that it will bring about inflation, because the inflation is already there. And you don't need to be an economist to understand what is going on. Just go to the market. Just look at the prices. You can't buy yam. You can't buy tomato. You can't buy carrots. You can't even buy gari. And these are the things you need to know. You don't need any science or any survey. Just on your own, go there and look at the prices. So what I want to say is that what labor is asking for is justified, and government has not come out with a realistic amount. As soon as government come out with a realistic amount, I'm sure labor will listen and labor will accept, and it will not necessarily bring about inflation, because inflation is already there. So there are many policies that government should put in place to ensure that we bring down the cost of inflation. So labor is justified for what they are asking for. It is not the wish of Nigerian labor leaders to always cause strike because of the consequences, the negative consequences, but it has become the last resort, and we have to do it. And I bet you, if not for this strike, you won't see that meeting of last night between the National Assembly leaders, and you have the array of ministers, including the coalition minister of the economy and all of them in the meeting. They wouldn't do that if not for the strike. So, and that is why the strike is justified. And we are asking that government should, as a matter of urgency, come to the negotiating table to avoid the collateral damage that may come as a result of the strike.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Joe Aligbe. I'll come back to you in a moment. So let me just I'll keep tabs with you and be back with you in a moment. I still have Comrade Moni Mike Modesti Twa with us on this conversation on the new minimum wage debate. Comrade, we haven't really seen labor take such a drastic action in drawing government's attention to some of the challenges in the society. But we've seen Labour going on an indefinite strike to bring government to the negotiating table. Which will be better, increasing the minimum wage or increasing the purchasing power of the Naira within the local context of goods and services? Money Mike.
Thank you for that question. When you talk about increasing the purchasing power of the Naira, I want to inform you that the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria are presently canvassing the troubles they are passing through, that their warehouses are filled up with goods and people are not coming around come to buy and take to the wholesalers and the retailers. And by that, the consumers, because of their low purchasing power, non-availability of the expected funds, are busy themselves thinking of how to survive rather than talk about issues of buying those things that then become luxuries to them. The daily bread is what they are looking for now, yet they can't even get it, let alone having the resources to go and start buying those goods. My brother, let it be known that things have since fallen apart. Economically, we are in disarray. So the more money you put in the pockets of the worker, the more advantage the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and industries stand to get. Because if the workers don't have more money in their pockets, those goods that have been produced by these manufacturers will become waste in their warehouses. And if that happens, it brings more economic downturn to the nation. And there is the tendency that when the manufacturers are producing and not having disadvantages may take place. As we speak, it is not a matter of putting more money in the hands of the workers that will derail further the economy. The contribution into the economy from the side of the worker is enormous. It is the worker that is turning the wheel of the economy. And what we have in Nigeria is monkey is working and baboon is eating. Why has the government not decided to trim down the earnings of the political officers or politicians in the federation? Why is it that when it comes to the worker, that is when government becomes strong enough to start preaching unscientific campaigns? What offense has the Nigerian worker really committed? Like the analysis that has been given by Dr. Aligwe, you understood him too well. That 60,000 naira cannot even take care of the transportation of a worker. Let's take, for example, a worker who works in Lagos and resides in some part of Ogun State. He has his residence in Ogun State because of his inability to pay the high rentage in Lagos. And now that worker is expected to pay close to 4,000 daily, 4,000 daily to commute from his house to his workplace in Lagos back to his house. 4,000 daily. Calculate that in a month. You're not talking about the children. You're not talking about the wife. And you know we live in a society where when one person is working, he becomes a breadwinner for the extended family because of our cultural affiliations. That grade level 1 step 1 officer who is to earn 60,000 can't even cater for his own transportation, let alone taking care of his immediate family or making an extension of his finances to members of the extended family. Therefore, workers in this country are of the opinion that enough is enough. You did mention that Labour does not seem to show much interest on the general issues that border on the populace. That is grossly incorrect. This particular matter of minimum wage borders on the entirety of the people of this federation in the markets needs the money that comes from the worker, because when he's well paid, it will benefit the market woman. When he's well paid, it will benefit. When he's well paid, it will benefit the community where he lives. But as it is, you know too well that, for instance, let me give you an example. I was recently told that the transportation fare from your station at Oluku area to Ring Road is about 600 naira. How many people can afford that? In a whole month, how many people can afford that on a daily basis? So if government has failed to provide electricity at subsidized rates and make it readily available, government has failed to provide free and qualitative education to the people who now resort to private institutions. Government has failed to provide water to the people. Government has failed to make the roads workable. Government has failed in providing security, which is a constitutional responsibility to its citizens, thereby allowing it to affect our agriculture. What is the level of investment in the agricultural sector? In all the critical sectors, point out to me the one that is working. The refineries, are they up to date? Are we having fuel produced and supplied to us now? Why are we still using the dollar to determine what Nigerians will pay for petroleum products? So you see, this is an issue that requires all. Fundamentally, if the government has even told us before now to say we want to bring down the incomes or the wage or salaries they pay to these political officers, we want to cut costs, traveling allowances cut down, and many other measures put in place, we shall be contemplating to say, okay, why not let's look at this way. But as it stands, my brother, I tell you, there is nothing working in the system. Positive, I'm a patron to the call, but I must say it when I have to say it. Nothing is functional. Nothing is working. I tell you, of Nigerians are dying every day because of their inability.
More on this because he has another engagement in the next few minutes. Dr. Joe Aligbe, Money Mike said something a while ago that I'd like you to react to, which has to do with the fact that this fight by the organized labor is for everyone. But there are those who feel that that's a bit not correct, because it will literally even complicate circumstances and situations for other people who are not in the government employ. For example, Edo State government just increased minimum wage to 70,000 naira. And I'm not sure there is any private sector in Edo State that has put that into practice already. So, I mean, and everybody goes to the same market, as it were. So I don't know what your perspectives are on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me quickly start by commending the state government for what it has done by way of increasing the
step. I hope Dr. Joe Aligbe will be able to reconnect and continue with the conversation in a bit. While we're waiting for Dr. Joe to reconnect, let me quickly switch over now to Comrade Money Mike Modesty to respond to the question that I just asked, because he raised the issue. Dr. Comrade Money Mike Modesty, could you just take it off from there, please?
Well, I'm one of those who, right from day one, especially on the 1st of May 2024, I wholeheartedly appreciated the governor of Edo State, live on your television station, for taking the bull by the horn and continuing in the spirit of leadership as far as workers' welfare is concerned in Nigeria. I will hopefully want to say that in Edo, pace setting has remained the in thing. when Comrade Governor Adam Soshomole was in power, minimum wage was 18,000. He was paying 25,000 in Edo. And when his successor came aboard, His Excellency Godwin Obaseki, he has never failed in improving on the wage in Edo. You recall that last year, he put up the wage up to 40,000, whereas in the Federation, the minimum was 30. And this year, seeing the suffering of the people and the workers especially, he also decided to put up the wage to 70,000. Kudos to heads of military that you should allow the new wage benefit all workers at the same time, especially the primary school teachers. And I'm happy to say, as of today, that he has done that. May God continue to bless him. As we stand, in respect of labor's decision to go on strike, like I said before, it's an inevitable decision. Labor is not to ruin the system. It is because that the federal government has failed woefully to do the needful to the issue of embarking on strike. If other states can toe the line of Edo, as exemplified by the increase by His Excellency the Governor, I am sure now we could be saying, yes, let us see how we can come further low from the demand of labor, while the government comes up far a bit better than what they are offering. I see a conspiracy in the entire system. And this conspiracy may not be that far from the Nigeria Governors Forum and the private sector players. Duke, I put it to you that the private sector, over 80% of them already pay salaries minimum of more than 60,000. I put that to you. I am saying it effortlessly. Many of them already paid more than 60,000 as minimum. If the present quagmire that we have all found ourselves, and I must explain the quagmire, that the organized private sector is saying it will lead to job losses. And the federal government is dancing to the tune of the organized private sector, that they are the highest employer of labor. They wouldn't want organized private sector to lay off workers. And the same organized private sector are complaining that their warehouses are filled with goods and nobody is buying. I see it as blowing hot and cold at the same time. Be that as it may, the needful must be done. Let us not shy away from it. You have increased electricity tariff, band A, band B, band D, band Z. The electricity is not even forthcoming. Nobody is even having electricity. And as we speak, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and the private sector are even saying they will not pay the new tariff. Because if they pay the new tariff, they may not be able to continue with their production. And if, for instance, an institution in those states, I am told, has been given over 200 million just for 1 month to electricity charge, where will such a higher institution get 200 and something million on a monthly basis to pay? Government has told us that they have removed subsidy. We are all aware that subsidy is being paid in trillion, although they are not talking about it.
Okay.
And the removal of subsidy fundamentally led us to the trouble
where we are
today.
today.
And government is not even apologetic.
Okay, now, let me pause you there quickly, Comrade Moni Mike Modesty. Let's quickly bring Dr. Joe Aligbe back. I'm sure we've been able to establish a connection with him. Dr. Joe Aligbe, talk to us about where we are on this and the far-reaching implications of this indefinite strike. Those who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of this strike will ultimately suffer the consequences of this strike because of the different stakeholders within the labor circle that have decided to join. And then the president has also said that the people should also hold the state governors, the 36 state governors, accountable in terms of meeting their expectations. If we have state governors maybe borrowing a leaf from Edo State governor to implement a new minimum wage regime, perhaps the situation will be a little bit more bearable compared to what it is today. I'd like to get your take on that before we let you go for your other engagements.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sonny Duke. My brother, Money Mike, has established some of those things very well. He has put them succinctly where the way it should be. Okay. But I want to say quickly that you will not say that because the process of administering an injection on a patient, a drug, maybe through intramuscular injection, will be painful to the patient, you will not administer it when an epidemic threatens. That is how you will explain this. You won't say because the pains, the consequences, the negative consequences of strike, you will not declare a strike when it becomes necessary. In this case, it has become necessary. And I want to say that the pain will be for a while. Like you can see, my place is not even where I am now. It's not well illuminated because there is no power. That is part of the consequences. And it's also not also correct that labor is only talking about wages. One of the requests, part of the request labor is asking for, is the reversal to the old tariff regime. So it is not just workers alone. And by the way, if your focus is on the workers, I tell you, the ripple effect on the economy is so monumental that you cannot say that workers are selfish. What they are doing is for everybody. And I also want to say that, yes, there are collateral damages. For instance, if health workers go on strike and patients are not attended to in the various hospital wards, of course, it could result to death. And nobody wishes for that. But these are the realities. These are the collateral damage. And it is very painful for some of us who are in the leadership, taking such decisions, because we have a government who do not listen, an uncaring government. If you have a government that listens, that cares, you will understand and agree with me that government will avert all this. And I want to say also that it is not correct that we should focus on the purchasing power and not necessarily an increase in salary. How do you differentiate purchasing power from increment in salary? Purchasing power means what your earning can purchase, what your earning can actually purchase. A very good comparison will be in 2020, what was your 30,000 naira able to purchase? What can your 30,000 naira purchase now? That is the purchasing power. The purchasing power of Nigerians has reduced drastically. And it is not just the increase in wage that brings about improvement in the purchasing power of the average worker. One, the issue of tax is there. You will agree with me, whether in the name of tariff in electricity or in the name of VAT or whatever. This government believes that you must increase tax. This government believes that people must be taxed. And subsidies are not coming. So why would the purchasing power of the average Nigerian worker not reduce? So we want to say, or submit rather, that the way forward is that government should not just only increase wage. There are many things government should do to ensure that the workers and ultimately Nigerians, have a good sense of belonging, the good dividends of governance. And I want to say this, and also commend Edo State government for taking the lead. Though it was an award from Edo State government in the real sense of it, but it gladdened the heart to know that workers are happy. And he has set a precedent for the federal government and other stakeholders to take a cue from. And I want to say this, that the organized private sector, many of them are already paying above 60,000 naira as minimum wage. So it is not correct to say that the increase that the workers are asking for will affect the organized private sector negatively. No, that is not correct. It's only the state government, majority of the state government, the state governors that do not want to live up to their expectations because they are also involved. They are the ones. The state governors are actually the ones who are coming up with these stories that they cannot pay, they cannot do that. The federal government can pay, the state government can pay if they want to be sincere, and of course, the organized private sector are already paying. So, to me, let's be sincere. Let's love Nigeria as we love ourselves, so that this country will be better for all of us. And I want to say that the earlier the better, that the government come to the negotiating table, the better for all of us. Otherwise, the effect of the strike is not good for anyone. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for all of us. So that is our appeal to government, that they should please come to the negotiating table so that this malady can be over.
All right, Dr. Joe Aligbe, thank you very much for the views that you shared with us on the program this beautiful Monday morning on the ITV network. We need to let you go so you can attend to another interview that is just about 10 minutes away. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Joe Aligbe, joining us from Abuja, former National Vice President of Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. I'm back to you now, Comrade Muni Mike Modesti Itwa. It looks like with the outcome of yesterday's last-ditch effort by the leadership of the National Assembly to engage labor union leaders to avert the indefinite strike, which started today. So what is the way forward? I heard Dr. Joe Aligbe saying we need to quickly go back to the negotiating table to avert the far-reaching consequences of this strike. Comrade Mike.
Well, the way forward is in the hands of government. Like Dr. Aligbe has mentioned, I told you before, it's a conspiracy, and the governors want to hide under the organized private sector to achieve something less, so that the free day to spend the people's money the way they want it. The way forward is that the government should come back quickly and make a very responsible. The offer of 60,000 is not responsible. I'm sorry to use that word. It's not a responsible offer, not put against what the people are passing through. So if they are making an offering of 150 or 200,000, I'm sure organized labor definitely will come down from 400 and something thousand. So let them make a better offer. If a better offer is on the table, I'm not sure that the strike is going to be a prolonged one. Our leaders who are negotiating on our behalf definitely know the targets that we are looking at. They may have proposed 400 and something after coming down from 615. They know where they want to have an equilibrium. If the government is not coming towards that direction of having a reasonable equilibrium, so to speak, the trouble will continue, because everybody is hungry. A hungry man is an angry man. And the government cannot continue to make the workers to kowtow to their bohos. So we will not do that. The leaders are very resolute, and the workers are also resolute behind them. We expect that before the end of today, I'm expecting that government will not allow the strike to snowball into tomorrow, because the economy would have lost hundreds of billions of dollars in a day strike. As I speak, I'm talking to you, there is no light in my residence because the electricity workers have also embarked on the strike. And I'm sure if care is not taken, between now and tomorrow, the airport, all of them may not even have electricity. They will all be shut down. And it will amount to pennywise pound foolish from the side of government. Let them do the needful and make a very positive offer. Positive offer. If they are putting 250,000 on the table, I'm sure organized labor will want to look at it, because fundamentally, in the year when we're having 18,000 minimum wage, the dollar equivalent was about 125 or 130. That was the dollar equivalent then. Now, let them contemplate giving us the dollar equivalent of the 18,000 minimum wage now, and see whether the workers, the minimum paid worker will not be going home with over 270,000 naira. Because the purchasing power is dependent on what you are able to get from what you are paid. As analyzed already by Comrade Aliba. So let it be said that if government decides to say, okay, let's give the minimum worker the sum of $130, multiply that by 1,300, 1,400. You know what I'm driving at. They are not even thinking towards that as far back as 18,000 minimum wage is concerned in 2019. So let us now believe that in 2024, government is even offering the least paid worker $200. Let them even give us $200, judging by the economic realities that are on ground. They will not even attempt that. Labor is asking them, you are saying 60,000, break it down. Let Nigerians know what the 60,000 will do. They are refusing to. Yet, they are putting a lot of billions for their external travels here and there. They are putting a lot of billions for security, and security we are not seeing. Both the state, the local government, and the federal. They are putting a lot of billions for security. Security we are not seeing. So who is fooling who? Let them do the needful, because the pain is for everybody. Even we that are on strike, we are feeling the pains. Banks will be shut down. Virtually everything about the economy may be shut down. And if you allow a strike that will cost your government over $100 billion in a day, the seaports, the airports, all of them will be affected. The petroleum industry will be affected. Everything will be affected. So we appeal through you people who are in charge of the media to help us back up. They should do the needful and avert this unnecessary pain which they are bringing on everybody. That is the way I see it. And I'm wishing all Nigerian workers in solidarity fruitful results at the end of this struggle, which will benefit the entirety of the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mike Modesty Itwa. Very useful insights that you're bringing to bear. I've heard that part of the challenges why the economy has been so impactful on the people negatively has to do with the lack of resources. The earnings from crude oil is not what it used to be, and all of that. In terms of making these demands, is there any way we can establish that labor is so convinced that government at the federal level especially has the capacity to pay? Because one thing is to approve a new minimum wage, another thing is to be able to sustain the payment of new minimum wage. We're all in this country, we know of states that at some point were paying 10% of salaries to workers or 50% of salaries to workers at a certain point in time. All of these things need to be factored into this conversation for us to have a headway so that workers, even when it does come forth, they will have reason to smile and be happy all the way.
Well, I think what you have said, we have taken all these into cognizance. On the negotiating table, these issues are there. And let me also tell you that those states that remain as a minimum, immediately done that because they want to shortchange the workers. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
There is no state in this.
A bit of connectivity challenge there from Mike Modesty Itwa, who has been trying to continue this conversation. But let's just take a look at some of the labor unions that are participating in this action by the organized labor. So you have, an insight into the unions that are participating, how it will influence and affect you as it were. Do we have Money Mike back now? Is it back? Okay, Money Mike, just go ahead, establish the points here.
Yes, I wish to inform you that some of those few states that have not implemented the 30,000 minimum wage seems to be very wicked people. The administrators of such states, as far as I'm concerned, are wicked. What is the population of the workforce in such states? You may be shocked that the civil service in the entirety of such states may not be more than 15 or 20,000, the entire service. Yet, such governors in such states will sit and take the resources of the state to some other avenues where they squander the resources to the detriment of the workforce. Right now on the negotiating table, our leaders have the statistics, they have the data, and they know too well that empirically these states can pay. They can pay. Let me also tell you, my dear brother, these states don't even have level 1, step 1. Many of them don't even have. Many of them don't even have salary grade level 2. So most of the times when you hear them talk about minimum wage, they usually will contemplate consequential adjustments for the upper echelon. And in deceiving the people, they just roll out some data that will make it look as if the workers are the troublemakers. But as I look with you, be rest assured that they are using to negotiate. And all these have been plugged into it.
Okay.
We will not say, give us 200 and something or 400 and something without having the records. You see the analytical stuff that the labor leaders brought forth, detailing how they arrive at 615,000. As we speak, the federal government or the other side of the negotiating table has not been able to tell us or bring forth the analysis of their 60,000 naira. The more you look, the less you see.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear
Okay.
you, Money Mike. Yes,
So
go ahead.
at mistake, they need to do the needful. Let them not start running from what is inevitable. They just have to. We are happy that we have a country where the people are very peaceful, where we don't take to violence so easily. You remember the Tunisia Wahala and many other parts of the world? We are not praying for that. We have had a lot of patriotic zeal for this country and will continue to maintain that. But government must not push the populace to the edge of the precipice. Because if that happens, we may not be able to handle the situation. And we pray it doesn't happen. You and I know too well that stealing, pilfering, burglary, all sorts of atrocities are happening nowadays in our societies, mostly occasioned by the untold hardship that has been unleashed on the people by the singular act of government removing subsidy without making preparations for the people. By yet another act of government dancing to the tune of IMF and World Bank by floating the Naira, and many other acts of government within the last 1 year. They will tell us if they didn't do that, the economy would have collapsed totally. They wouldn't really have any positive economy today, even when they have done that. Where is the economy when the people cannot feed just even once in the whole day? Where is the economy? Meanwhile, prior to the coming of this government, people could also feed once or twice. And nobody is thinking of how to checkmate the skyrocketing value of the dollar against the Naira. Nobody has thought it wise to even call a conference of Nigerians together to say, how do we solve this problem and mitigate the challenges our people are facing? They are still very, very much involved in politics instead of engaging everybody across board to say, let's come together. We have a country to build. From all areas of this country. Let's have useful advice that we can collectively work on to solve the problems confronting the nation. They are not looking at that direction.
Truly appreciate you for these very useful insights that you shared with us on this indefinite strike action by the organized labor over the debate on the new minimum wage. We hope that the federal government's team can actually come to the negotiating table and get to engage this issue so we can resolve it as soon as possible. It will be indeed penny wise and pounds foolish if the federal government doesn't resolve this issue as soon as possible, and then we lose billions of dollars within the period the strike lasts, at whose expense. All right, so let's hope that government can actually swing into action and deal with this issue. Unfortunately, if they had done this much earlier, I'm sure we won't be here now. Maybe the definite strike would have been averted. But just for your own knowledge, let's look at some of the unions that are participating in this strike action and what that means for the organized labor and what that means for you. The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers are participating in it, and that means fuel scarcity could also be a challenge within the period this strike lasts. All right, and then you also have the Association of Nigerian Automobile Professionals. They're also there, ANAP. All right, and that's also will have far-reaching implications for you to fix your vehicles and all of that. Then you also have another major component part of the labor movement that is participating in this strike, Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria. That certainly will have a huge impact on this strike and on the populace, because people wouldn't be able to get medical attention. All right, and then you have also another union here, the Nigerian Union of Civil Engineers, Construction, and all of that. They're also participating in this strike, and of course getting construction workers to come to site will be a challenge. It means that we'll have some projects deadlines delayed as a result of this strike. And so we also have this, the Amalgamated Union of Public Corporations, Civil Service, Technical and Recreational Services Employees. They're also part of this strike action. And so we move on. The National Union of Electricity Employees, NUEE. These are critical components. Just be ready to buy more fuel to power your house and do some of the things that you need to do. But unfortunately, Nupenga and others will be joining. They're already part of it. And so it's just going to be a total shutdown of the economy if we look at some of these unions that are participating. And then we also have the Nigeria Civil Service Union. Well, civil servants are used to this kind of fight. They're used to this kind of war. They're used to this kind of strike. So you expect that nothing will happen in government circles as far as governance is concerned. So that's the more reason we hope that you look at this expeditiously. Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria. God help you, you have a case in court that probably requires adjudication expeditiously. This may also be delayed, and that's quite unfortunate. And then we've got this other sector, Nigeria Union of Railway Workers. All right, just a few days ago in Abuja, there was the launch of the railway in Abuja, but they are going to be part of this strike, and that will also have far-reaching implications in the movement of goods and services to different parts of the country with the consequent economic realities. And then we've got National Union of Banks, Insurance, and Financial Institutions Employees. So banks insurance and financial institutions, they are part of this. Perhaps the only way out of this logjam has to do with mobile app on your phones to do your transactions, do your purchasing, and all of that. So this is just an insight into some of the affiliated unions of NLC and TUC that are participating in this strike. And you can see that from that avalanche of unions affiliated to this strike is going to have far-reaching implications. Government needs to wake up from its responsibility and do the needful in listening to the organized labor and listening to Nigerians and helping Nigerians to live quality life. Things are in bad shape. Things are in bad state. Nigerians are dying. Nigerians are hungry. Things are not the way they're supposed to be. The roads are unpassable. Health facilities are not there. Agriculture is comatose. The economy, there is nothing to write home about it. Insecurity is a daily occurrence in some of the flashpoint areas. Government needs to wake up and do something urgent. Government needs to go to the negotiating table and give to labor what they need. 100,000 naira wouldn't be a bad idea, even though when you take that money, interfacing with the economic realities of the country right now is still a far cry. But it could just be a starting point where everyone can actually say, okay, something good is in the offing. As it is today, the 30,000 naira, 25,000 naira, even 50,000 naira is a far cry. You can't do nothing. I mean, someone went to the market recently, bought 2 tubers of yam for 8,000 naira. I mean, how can you survive with that? A man with a wife, 3 children, 4 children, 5 children, as the case may be, how can such a family survive on what is available now? The painful part of it all is that this government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did promise that with the removal of fuel subsidy, a lot of monies will come from fuel subsidy removal, and these monies will be plowed back to help to assuage the sufferings of Nigerians. But we ain't seen nothing. So where is the money for fuel subsidy removal? Is there even fuel subsidy removal in the first place? I very much doubt. Fuel subsidy has been put back into the system. So we just have government speaking from both sides of their mouth, and that creates a lot of problem. State governors are not exempted. They also need to live up to expectation. We can't forget in a hurry, the governor of Kogi State was paying 50% of salaries of workers while he was there under the administration of Yahya Bello. We can't forget that in a hurry. Government needs to live up to expectation. The Niger State governor recently has reduced tuition fees to 50% just to give a lease of life to the citizens of that state. Other state governors need to come up. We can't leave this alone for the federal government. State government, local government, they need to complement the effort of the federal government. But the federal government must take leadership. They must take leadership under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for us to move this country forward, reduce the pains, the pangs, and the sufferings of Nigerians.